Now, in order to run migrations, we need to get into the Package Manager console. So we can either right-click on Workout and maybe we can't get in this way. Nope, we're going to go in a different way. Go to Tools, you get Package Manager and Package Manager Console. Now, once you use this once, it should stay down here on your little information panel next to output and error. Okay. I recently had to reinstall, which is why mine was missing. Um, but once you get in here, it's the Package Manager console. You'll see a PM prompt, and that is where you enter your command. So we have to add the migration first. This is what generates the code to create our database and tables. And usually your first one is called initial create. And so you'll notice there's no spaces there. So we've got add dash migration space initial create, press enter. This should work. If you have an error here, you need to look at the error message because there is a problem. Okay, and that has to be resolved. The next step is going to be to generate the databases, but I want to show you what add migration did. So add migration creates a migrations folder, and in that folder, you're going to see two separate files. The first one is called initial create with today's date. You know, that long number, you can kind of decipher 2025. It is March 29th, and I think the rest has to do with time, but it is today's date. So looking at this file, you can see we have an up method that is used to create the database and tables. And then if you scroll down, we have a down method, and that is used to remove the tables. And you can see the drop table command. In the up method, if we look through the code, you can see the name, you can see the columns that it's going to create, and then you can even see some of the properties here. Okay, you've got max length, variable character, whether it's going to be nullable or not. So this is not null because it's a key. Anything required is not null. Okay, otherwise it's going to be nullable. Okay, and then you'll see a little constraint here for the primary key. Okay, and then you'll see the user table. And then finally down here, you're going to see the workout table. And it's going to have three constraints because it'll have the primary key, but it also have the constraints for the foreign key. And then below that is the code to actually insert the data. Okay, and then it automatically builds an index based on your foreign keys. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember this from the your database class, but you will always have a clustered index on your primary key, and that indexes make retrieval faster. But you will also get a non-clustered index on your foreign keys. Okay, so that is what it creates. And then we'll take a look at the little snapshot. Okay, and this is Fluent API. We also have Fluent API up in our workout context. And so you can kind of see it's going through the different properties, has data. And it uses both of these files when it is generating the database. So to get Entity Framework to execute these files and actually create our database, we have to go back into the Package Manager console and key in update dash database. Then what it'll do is it's going to look at the code that's in these files, and it's also going to look at app settings because app settings has the name of the database and where it's going to be stored, which is local DB. Okay? And it's going to go ahead and run the SQL code to create the database and tables. And you will see that SQL code displayed in the Package Manager console. So I'm going to press enter. And you definitely don't want to see errors because they will be highlighted in red. Oh no. What doesn't it like? Oh, I bet I have one. Yep, I already have a workout DB table. This happens sometimes. So let me change the name of the database. I'm going to call it new. All right. So red means problem. Okay? And when you see that there's already an object named, that means the database is already there. So I'm just going to run update database again. And this one should work. Yep. Okay. So if you scroll through this, you will see insert into, okay, our SQL command for inserting data. You will see create table. So all of the code that was in those migration files is executed and converted into these SQL files. That is part of what Entity Framework does. So where does this database go? The database is you can get to it from Visual Studio, but it's in something called the SQL Server Object Explorer. So you need to go to View, SQL Server Object Explorer. Okay, and then you'll notice that we have local DB here. So it should have gone into this one. This other one is for database first projects. The first one is for code first. So that is where it should be. And I have a lot in here. Used to teach databases, and I have done a lot of these Razor Page and MVC projects. So let's look for, here it is, Workout DB new. This is the one I just created. So I'm going to expand it. Okay, and I'm going to expand out tables. And this is what you need to do to verify that everything is set up correctly. Find your database, expand it, expand tables. And then here are my 3 tables. And they're prefixed with DBO because they're database objects. So let's look at exercise. And let's expand out columns. Okay, primary key is right. Name is not null. Everything else is nullable, which is fine. And let's look down here at user. Primary key, name and email, that's fine. Let's go down to workout log. This is the one where I had the foreign keys. And you can see that the foreign keys are listed along with the primary key. And you'll note that the primary keys are filled in, they're black, but the foreign keys are hollow. Okay, so that is what you should see. Now, additional kind of cool stuff that you can do in this little window, and make room for it here. is we can actually see the seed data that was added. So if I right click on user, I can do view data. Okay, and that displays the data that I added. Okay, and if I can do the same thing for exercise, view data. Okay, and you can widen up those columns. And double clicking on the line, just like Excel, will widen it, or it'll resize it to the largest entry. Okay. Other things that you can see, if you right click, you could go into view code, and that shows you the SQL code that was used to generate the table. So what happens if you need to create a new version of the table, like I did, right? My migration didn't work because the table already existed, so I had to change the name. Well, you can see I've got 3 of them here. If you have multiple ones that you're not using, you just right click on them and delete them. Okay. Now, once I've deleted those, if I wanted to go back, okay, so if I'm going to get out of the Object Explorer here and go back over into my Solution Explorer, I could go into the Package Manager console and I can change this name back, right? So I just want to go back to being DB. Well, all I have to do is update database. And it'll just generate that database again under the name I specify. Anytime you make a change to the model classes that will impact the database, you have to add a migration and update database. Okay. And so sometimes there are problems doing that. Okay. Sometimes if you have tons and tons of migrations, Entity Framework gets confused. So what if that happens and you have issues, what I normally tell students to do is go into app settings, change the name of the database. You can actually delete the migration folder. Like I can delete this thing. Okay, I can come in here. I can change the name of the database. Okay, I can save everything and I can run a build. And assuming I don't have a fitness DB, I can do the go back into my package manager console and I can do add migration, initial create. And then I can update database. I'm going to probably change that name back to workout just because I know that I deleted that one. So let me do an update database. Oh, maybe not. All right, try fitness. We'll run it again. Okay, that one worked. Okay, and then it's the same process. Go to View, SQL Server Object Explorer. And then sometimes in order to see changes, you do have to right click on databases and choose refresh. But here's my fitness database. And let's see, dock as tabbed. Ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. All right, so now you guys have a little information here on migrations. So next video, we're going to actually run the app.